Hey, it's a sharp look. It's a sharp look.
Thank you, sir. Let's actually, speaking about the outfits there, I want to hear about slipping into the Moon Knight costume. You know, they chose to make it real.
I would not describe it as slipping into it. More like wedged and stuffed and squeezed into it.
Oh, man. Okay, last question. I'm just going to say 2 words for you. I want your reaction. Midnight Suns. Is that anything to you?
Yeah, man. I mean, it's like an amazing run of comics, and it'd be a cool group to see, wouldn't it?
Hell yeah. One day. I want to ask you a question that we're going to talk about after the first episode releases. The first scene of the show is Arthur Harrow putting glass in his shoes, walking on glass. What does that tell us about your character, the psyche, what's going on there?
Well, look, you know, a lot of true people on the spiritual path, right? They're trying to, most of us spend our life either pursuing pleasure or avoiding pain, right? And the true spiritualist is trying to get off those 2 habits. So he embraces pain and avoids pleasure. So he puts a little glass in his shoe. That'll wake you up in the morning. It's better than a cup of coffee, my man.
Did you go full method on it?
Oh, I went full method. My feet are still not recovered.
Was that real hair? Tell me about
Come on, man, was that real hair? If you gotta flaunt it, right?
I love it.
No, I kind of saw him as if Oscar's the moon, then the villain needed to be like the sun. You have kind of a lion-ish mane. That was my thought.
Dude, so congratulations on being here for the premiere. What's it like to take the shot to the world for the first time?
And I'm going to tell you something weird, but it feels like I've been pregnant for 2 years.
No.
And today, finally, the baby's going to be delivered to the world. Yes, yes.
Well,
believe me, I've been pregnant for 5 years before with other films, so this one is 2 years is good.
Dude, you've done some really incredible work, and I know it's very close and important to you. What is it like to dive into a comic book property where it's a world of fantasy that has such a big following? Like, how does it stack up?
I needed a bridge between my very artistic, small, intimate films. My last films went to Cannes and Berlin, Cannes and Venice, and into the big budget movies. And I was so lucky to find Moon Knight. Once I read it, me and my wife, we said we were born to make that project. Because that project at its core, it's a story about someone who needs to learn how to live with himself. So once I found that core, I told myself this is an extension of my small movies. And I always dealt with it as a small movie, as intimate as possible. And I got this crazy guy, Oscar Isaac, with me on the same journey, pushing the boundaries, trying to make as intimate story as possible. Ethan joined without even reading the script because he believed in our vision, because I told him we're going to create this together, the villain. And here we are 2 years later. Usually he tells me I dive and I take risks and it doesn't always pay off, but this one did. We're proud of the project.
What I'm doing now, for it, I can tell you it paid off. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Jeremy, you are the head writer on Moon Knight. Welcome to the MCU of it all. I want to hear about the first shreds of ideas you had for this. What kind of comics did you look at? What kind of Egyptian lore and mythology did you look into, and make sure that you're combining all that for what culminates into a very good show from what I've seen so far?
Oh, thanks. You know, right from the beginning, it was kind of a blank slate. This is a character people don't really know the way they know Spider-Man or Hulk or Captain America. So we knew we would have the ability to introduce this character to fans for the first time. And we also knew that, you know, I've seen a lot of shows where a guy in a cape sort of beats up muggers in an alley. And I was like, I had no interest in sort of competing with Batman. He's got an 80-year head start. He'll win. And so I sort of came in and really from that first meeting, I kind of pitched basically the pilot episode that fans are going to see next week. And I really kind of came in and I was like, I don't want to see this guy beating up muggers. I want to see this guy in Raiders of the Lost Ark. I want to see this guy in Ghostbusters or an 80s Amblin movie. Let's get some weirdness in the MCU. Let's get some horror. Let's get some monsters, some magic. So I really came in just saying, like, let's push the boundaries. Let's make this as weird and dark and cool and unique as we possibly can. And Marvel was so supportive of that. I think I started talking Raiders of the Lost Ark and Kevin's eyes lit up. I think we probably were speaking the same language there. So I'm just excited for fans to see that. I hope they dig it.
And you mentioned Batman. I don't know if you read discourse online and stuff. Moon Knight and Batman are often compared by a lot of fans. They're not very similar. What do you think of that comparison?
You know, I think it's a fair comparison if you look at certain runs, because there were certain times where Stephen Grant was a billionaire playboy philanthropist and he's driving a moon cycle and flying a moon wing, and that version of me never appealed or that version of the character never appealed to me because I was like, it's too similar. And the one thing the MCU is great at is not kind of riding someone else's coattails. They're very good at coming in and having an original, unique take and spin. And so we looked at it and we said, what's unique about this character? It's not necessarily the grappling hook or the tool belt or the costume. It's his struggles with mental health. It's his dissociative identity disorder. It's the fact that this guy's greatest enemy is kind of himself. So many great characters are sort of defined by their villain. Batman's defined by Joker. Spider-Man's defined by Green Goblin or Venom. And I think if you look at Moon Knight, his greatest enemy has always been himself. And so that's the sort of story that I don't think you could tell if you were doing this as a feature film, if you had to squeeze all of this into 90 minutes. But knowing that we had 6 hours to play with and we could really do a sort of very cool sort of deep dive character study, we knew we had the runway to really tell that story in a satisfying and take the audience on that journey. So you're going to get to the end of that first episode and you're going to say, that was really cool. I still have no idea what the hell is going on. And that's very much by design. But I think by the time you get to the end of the mystery, you'll know exactly what's going on, and hopefully the audience will go on the same kind of cool, incredible journey that Stephen Grant has.
Now, Stephen and Mark are not the only personalities this character possesses. I know there's a certain cab driver and some other things we might one day run into. Did you get to explore any of that?
We talked about that a lot, and our sort of thought was let's kind of concentrate on the main two right now. Two is already pretty hard to balance and pretty weird, and so there's definitely a few breadcrumbs in there, and there's a few Easter eggs that if you're a hardcore Moon Knight fan, I think you're gonna be able to point to some stuff in the background and say, oh, they're laying some groundwork that there could be some stories told in the future. But I think right now the goal was like, let's tell a story that everyone can sort of follow along without drowning people in too much weirdness right off the bat.
I dig it, dude. And what episode are you most excited for everybody to see?
I really, I'm really proud of the pilot episode. It's kind of so close to the story that I originally pitched Kevin in a room 3 years ago. And weirdly, as much as the show changed and as many versions of the show as we did, that pilot episode always kind of stayed in one piece. So I'm really proud of that. And I think kind of the last 2 episodes of the series go to some really weird, unexpected places. And I'm really excited for people to meet some of the characters and villains that are coming up. I think it's going to be really fun.
I want to hear about when you're on set, what is the moment that immerses you and makes you realize this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe we're living and breathing in?
When I was next to Oscar in Moon Knight costume, I was like, oh my gosh, this is it.
What, did you just reach out and be like, this is what you got to touch that thing?
I was amazed. Like, the detail on that was amazing. There was all this like hieroglyphics going down, and I spent like most of the time being like, wait, what else is there? But no, it's cool.
You are Khonshu on the set of Moon Knight.
That's right.
What is that like on set? What do you look like on set when you are this big Egyptian god?
Yeah, well, fantastic outfit, crazy costume, very tight mummy wrappings, big stick, and I think the director said it best. He's like, when I see you in costume, man, that's Khonshu for me, and bringing the power of the character onto set, and his presence and his intimidation and his salty nature was a lot of fun, And
so dry.
Yeah. He's very dry. He's very one-dimensional. No messing around with Khonshu. And it was beautiful to be able to bounce off Oscar and Ethan and just have some fun with it.
So did you have like a whole kind of beak rig that you had to wear over your head and everything?
No, we didn't do that. We didn't do that at all. We did basically just a stick. I had kind of a shoulder mount with a stick that would then give me an eye, or give the other actors an eye line, so that they would look up to my 9-foot Khonshu self instead of my 6-foot Khonshu self. And that was really interesting. I mean, it was a bit difficult to do acting because you have someone looking up there and then you're looking at them, and so it's very complicated. But then they would go in with an actual head that had been 3D printed and painted very well, and put it through all of the lighting that I had stand in. So they have lighting reference on the skull, and then they have lighting reference on my costume, and then they have also reference on my movements, and then that's all replaced with a 3D CGI character, which is actually me scanned. They scan my body, and then they reconstruct it, and they'll be able to put it in and then mimic my moves that have been done in the actual scene. So
That's unreal. So I know Marvel is famous for its secrets. Did they give you, did you get to read everything, or did you only get to read the Khonshu bits?
I was lucky. I got to read everything. Yeah.
There you go. Which episode was probably the most exciting from your perspective?
5 and 6. 5 and 6 are amazing.
And those are the two they didn't send us.
Yep. For good reason.
I can't wait to see it.
Didn't finish yet.